We got the man of the weekend here on the program, Anthony Lionheart Smith, who got an impressive submission win over Volkan Oezdemir this past Saturday at UFC Moncton. Anthony, how are you today, man?
I'm doing good. Just hanging out, enjoying being back with the family.
Yeah, I imagine you're back in Nebraska now.
I am.
Okay, that's good. When did you get back? Because I know your manager, I know he took like an overnight flight to get back to Chicago.
Yeah, I got back yesterday about 3:45 and then jumped right into soccer practice and soccer games.
Trying to get that Dad of the Year award. That's pretty impressive, getting back and being able to help with the kids.
Yeah, man, it was just nice to be back, man. Hey, say hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
That's Avea. Hey,
Okay.
go.
Nice
Go
to
finish
meet you,
it.
Avea.
Go finish it.
Go.
Okay, go. Beat it, nerd. It's just nice to be back, man. It's nice to just get back into the flow and be able to check in. You know, when I'm back on the weekends, it's tough. I kind of disrupt their schedule a little bit. You know, they're getting a little bit used to me being gone, which is a really sad thing for me. But I come back and I kind of disrupt things a little bit, and then I take off again on Monday morning. So it's just nice to be able to check back in and I'll be here for a while.
Let's talk about the fight. Again, a third round finish, which is always nice. Was that the plan, was to take him into the later rounds, or did you want to take him out a little bit earlier than that? Because, I mean, you were going toe-to-toe with him, right from the opening bell.
You know, the game plan went pretty close to exactly how I thought it was going to. I did make some mistakes as far as, like, my approach. We worked really hard on wanting to, or we focused a lot on wanting to make him work the entire time. But I think I let him work more than I made him work. So I think I laid back a little bit and just let him kind of do his thing too much. And I wish I would have I wish I would have pressured him a little bit more. And I think I would have been able to gas him a little bit more and probably gas myself a little bit less.
Did you feel like you were down in the scorecards when it went into the third?
Yeah, but I expected to be down at the beginning of the fight. I think that was part of the problem. I think that I conceded those first two rounds a little bit too much in my head during camp and pre-fight. I think that I should have fought for them a little bit more. You know, I think in my head I was like, this is going to be ugly. Probably going to lose the first couple rounds because of how I have to fight him. So I think I just kind of let him kind of take those, and I didn't really make him work for him too much, and I think that was a mental mistake of mine. I just conceded those rounds a little bit too much.
Anything surprise you about him in this fight?
Yeah, he's when he was on top in that kind of that turtle position, he was much more technical on the ground on top than I expected him to be. He did a really good job of really covering my hips and sagging a lot and being really heavy right there. He also did a good job of fighting the wrists, and he was just technical there, So he wasn't nearly as aggressive on his feet as I thought he was going to be. I expected to have a little bit more of a fight in the clinch, and I think he was just as worried about my clinch as I was his. So I think we kind of had the same game plan to kind of nullify each other's clinch game. So that kind of threw me off a little bit because I expected to do a lot of fighting in the clinch, and he didn't really want to. And kind of historically, that's kind of where he hurts people a lot. So that threw me off a little bit. That kind of threw off that whole part of my game plan, because he didn't want to fight in the clinch at all, and I really wanted to. So, that kind of took away that part of the game.
So you get the win, you get your hand raised. There's a great photo of you after the fight. I don't know who took it. I think people are still trying to figure it out, but Mark Montoya's wife posted it on her Facebook of you just embracing Coach Montoya. Just take me to that moment because, this is the biggest win of your career.
You just get out of a tough fight like that. You're tired, and it's just overwhelming, and I just wanted to sit down, like I just wanted to sit down. And I don't know, man. It sounds really cliche, but Mark and Scott and Danny, those are the guys that literally hold me up, and just took that moment with Mark to just kind of take it all in, and the fans were still yelling, and I don't know, man. I was just tired and just overwhelmed, I did it. You know what I mean? Like I did what I said I was going to do, and I don't know, me and Mark shared that moment, and it was just, I don't know, man, it was cool.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, and obviously, nice success for the team. Court McGee getting the win earlier, so I'm sure. I don't know
Man,
if
good.
that helped you at all heading into the fight, just the momentum of the team winning.
Yeah, just seeing Court go out there and have such a just such a good performance. Forget wins or losses or whatever. Court went out there and just had a great performance. And God damn, a guy like that deserves it. You know what I mean? Like such a good dude. Court deserves everything that comes to him, man. And he's such a good guy, and he treats people right, and he just does everything the right way. He trains hard. He made the sacrifice just like I did to go to Factory X and leave his kids and leave his wife and really go all in and buy into the process at Factory X, man. And I was just so happy to see him get a win, because sometimes you make those gym moves and it's a little bit rocky at the beginning, because the change is different, the process is different, people in your corner are different. It's a learning process. You're getting to know each other, and I'm just so happy to see him be successful in that first one with Factory X, man, because he deserves it.
Any feedback from the UFC? I know it was really late locally there as far as the card went. Have you talked to them since the win?
No, I haven't, man. No, I don't think I've talked to anybody. Just seemed like everyone was happy though. I got a couple congratulation text messages, but as far as like where we go next and what the future looks like, I haven't heard anything.
Well, you called for the title shot after the fight, which I think people would agree with that. It's a performance taking out a former title challenger. There's a fight obviously coming up between Jones and Gustafsson. Just from your perspective, who do you think wins that fight?
Yeah, honestly, man, this is a really tough one for me because neither one of them have been very active. So it's almost hard to tell like who even knows what they're going to bring to the table. But with that said, Jon Jones is one of the greatest fighters to ever do it, and it's hard to bet against a guy like that. It really is. I don't know how you bet against Jon Jones. You know what I mean? Until he gives you a reason to, which he hasn't. You gotta go with Jon Jones.
And how do you feel like you'd match up against Jones, assuming this title shot does go your way after the fight on the 31st?
I think I match up with Jon Jones well. I think I match his size physically. He's got some reach issues that we definitely got to deal with, but I think everybody in the UFC has a reach issue they got to deal with Jon Jones. I got some things that I got to work on as far as my conditioning, stuff like that. I think a lot of the conditioning issues in the Volkan fight, I think it came down to the pace, and Volkan fights at a really high pace, and you got to match that or he's going to run you over, and I kind of deviated from the plan a little bit and kind of started going off, and I took some leg kicks that, it's hard to move around. It makes you hard to do things, and when you're struggling to do things, it definitely messes with your tank a little bit. But, I think that Jon Jones is hittable, and I think that I bring that I think that I can pressure Jon Jones enough to disrupt his rhythm. And I think that Jon Jones, in order to fight well, fights with a rhythm to him. He sits on the outside and he dictates the dance, and you can't really let him do that.
The other name that's been thrown out there, and I don't know, what people think about this, is Dominck Reyes. He's undefeated. He's a prospect. I know he's ranked. I think he's ranked higher than you. I know the rankings are coming out today or whatever. But is that a fight that you'd be open to if the title shot goes to someone else?
I just don't know who the title shot would go to. I knocked out two former champions. Say what you want about them, but it's two former champions. Shogun was on a win streak, and ranked in the top 10. And then I just beat the number 2 guy in the world by finish. As ugly as it was, it's a finish over the number 2 guy in the world, who also knocked out Jimmy Manawa, who's ranked, and also knocked out Misha Serkinov, who just finished another ranked guy. He finished both of those guys easily. I'd venture to say DC's out of the conversation because he's leaving the division. So then you got the number 1 contender is fighting Jon Jones for the title, and I took out number 2. I don't know who else I'd have to fight. I really don't. I don't know in what world you beat the number 2 dude and there's no one else in front of him and you don't get the next title shot.
I know you had some bumps and bruises out of this fight. When are you looking to return? What would be sort of an ideal situation for you?
Man, I don't really want to come back any earlier than May. To be honest, I got to get my hand X-rayed today. I think I may have broken my hand, so we'll see. Hopefully it's just banged up real bad, but I'm going to take 2 or 3 weeks off and just let my body heal. I got my leg pretty banged up again, so that's going to be a little while. And I just need to focus on getting better. That's what it comes down to. I've been since April. I've had an opponent in front of me that I've been preparing for. But when you're in camp, you don't really have time to add a whole lot of new stuff to your game. You're really just trying to formulate a game plan with the things that you already have, and then get to the fight. So I'd like to really spend some time on skill building and getting better, so that when it does come time to fight for that title, that I'm ready.
Last question before we let you go. Some big news happened during your fight week. Demetrious Johnson sent to one championship in return for Ben Askren. Just your thoughts on that whole thing. Is this something you think we could see in the future?
I don't know how often that kind of stuff is going to happen, but I'm really, really happy for Demetrious. I think that him and the UFC had a relationship that I just don't think it was repairable, and I think that their visions were different for how things were supposed to look. Demetrious is such a martial artist and such an ambassador for the sport as a whole that, he didn't really play ball that much with the way that the UFC wanted to do things, and his style, just because of the smaller weight class and the way that he fights, he's not the most devastating finisher out there, but I think that the fans at one will really appreciate his style, man, and I think he'll be a superstar over there. On the flip side of that, it's going to be pretty cool to see Ben Askren come in and kind of shake things up a little bit. I don't know how he'll do. But there's always been that question of how Ben Askren's going to do in the UFC. I wish it would have been a little bit earlier in his career, but nonetheless, it's here, and he's already shaking things up on social media, kind of making a mess of things, and it's always fun to see. I'm a big fan of chaos, and Ben's kind of a chaotic guy, so it's kind of fun to see. So I think everyone got what they wanted out of it.
And you certainly brought some chaos to the 205-pound division over the weekend, Anthony. Again, congratulations on the win. I really appreciate the time. Like I said, I know you're back home with family. You're doing the rounds today, so I appreciate it. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours, man.
As always, man, you can find me on Twitter at Lionheart Smith. My Instagram is Anthony Smith UFC. I just want to thank all my sponsors and the people that I have partnerships with, all my teammates and coaches and friends and family, just everybody, man. This has been just an incredible last year, and man, it's been tough, man. But obviously the people that stick behind me, Hypnotic, Modelo, Metro PCS, Prime Society, everybody at the UFC has been nothing but great to me, man. I put it all out there, man, and I throw myself in the fire every single time I get in there, and the UFC has been nothing but gracious to me. So, and especially the fans, like I've had a kind of a storied run, and a lot of downs, so it's cool that everyone's kind of stuck with me, and now we're riding this high, and I'm enjoying it.